Was it Freddie Lucas's?
No, Hockenberry.
It was the Hockenberries?
Yeah, to watch the moon. We would watch them walk on the moon.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning or something. We're down there.
Well, another time, George Steffens, he was a dairy farmer, and he always bragged about getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting his milking done. Well, Carl Hockenberry and I were out New Year's Eve till 3 o'clock in the morning, and we still had to go home and milk, both of us. But we decided we were going up to see if that George Steffens was up at 4 o'clock.
And he was.
And he was. He was in the other end of the barn just putting the milking machines on. And there was a switch right there. We turned the switch off and the milking machines all fell off.
Oh.
And we ducked down in front of the cows, and George came up and wiggled the switch, turned it back on, and started. I would have stayed, let him got back down the barn and done it again, but Carl jumped up. But he was up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Grandma, you don't remember the moonwalk?
Huh?
What you were doing at the moonwalk?
I don't remember that at all.
What did you think of it?
That we
that we were
advanced
on the
that
moon.
much?
Yeah.
That was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Were you guys? Was there excitement about it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was because you didn't know whether they were going to come back
Oh,
or
now.
what they were going to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No.
Long time before that, they had your mother and father.
Oh
heard
yeah.
them. Tell them about that.
Wait, my mother was Halloween time, and my mother was ironing, and my dad and Joyce and I were in bed about 10 o'clock, and my mother comes up and wakes up my father and says, "The Martians have landed between Trenton and Princeton." And it just came on a news bulletin.
What are we going to do?
And so they woke us up. My dad said, "If I had a radio in the car, we'd go, but I don't know what direction to go." And my grandmother was over in New York to a party, and they heard it. They all went up on the roof of the building, and they looked over on New Jersey, and they saw this fog, gas, and it was gas by then, they thought.
They thought.
And this radio announcer came back on and said, "The militia's there. The militia's destroyed, and there's strange things coming out of this monster." Well, I mean, they had everybody in a riot over that, and it was just a radio a scare show by
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles.
Yeah.
What were you doing then, Ma? Do you remember?
What's that?
I must have been Jersey City fast asleep.
Like you're supposed to.
So, your parents came in and woke you up?
Yeah, my mother, my dad and I and my Joyce were all asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get in the car?
I don't remember. Yeah.
How long did it play before it?
You
And-
realize
Probably
yeah.
a half hour. It was a show, but they put it on as
It's news, right?
news.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was well done, and they tried because, I mean, some accidents happened, and so they wanted to get out of the lawsuits, and they
Yeah.
claimed they had announced it ahead of time. Well, maybe they did, but nobody was paying any attention.
Nobody heard the first part.
Yeah.
We actually have the newspaper accounts of that, and we've listened to it on the radio. The whole thing is
Yeah.
on the internet. We pulled
Yeah.
it up on the internet.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I've heard it before too,
Yeah.
or I read it, or one of those. What about other things like? What about the election of President Kennedy?
Well, that was interesting. My dad and I were partners in a dairy farm at Dakey's, and we were on whether to buy a pipeline milker or not. And we had this salesman that's a nice guy, and my dad says, "Kennedy gets elected, we'll buy the pipeline." Well, Kennedy got elected,
Didn't ask
and we
whether
weren't
they
in
had any
the
money.
financial situation to buy the pipeline. Well, we bought it later, a few months later, I think it was. Yeah.
And then I had to juggle the books so we could pay for it.
And then this same salesman took us to the farm show once in Harrisburg, and we stopped at a diner for lunch or whatever. And then the next year, George Steffens and I went alone, and we found this Maverick Steakhouse, first class restaurant. So the next year, Eddie Van Zandt, who was the boss of the other guy, took a whole bunch of us, 4 or 5 of us farmers, and the first thing when he asked us, Ed, we ain't going to no cheap diner. You're taking us to a good steakhouse, and we did that for year in and year out. You know.
When was the last time you did it?
Huh?
What year was the last time you did it?
Oh, I know.
Well, when I started coming out here, so it had to be in the early '90s or in that area. Yeah.